There are four simple things you can do as a woman that will make any man completely melt in front of you. And I'm willing to bet you're not doing any of them. In fact, you're probably doing the exact opposite right now, which is why he's not opening up, why he's not chasing you, and why he's not giving you the emotional connection you want. Here's the crazy part. These four gestures are so simple, so natural, that when I tell you what they are, you're going to think I'm lying to you. You're going to think there's no way something that easy actually works. But that's exactly why they work so well, because almost no woman actually does them. Today, I'm going to break down these four feminine gestures that make a man's walls come crashing down. I'm going to show you why they work on a deep psychological level, how to know when it's actually working on him, and most importantly, how to do them in a way that feels completely natural and real, not fake or forced. But before we get into it, if you're getting value from this video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell so you don't miss any content that's going to help you understand men better and build the relationship you actually want. Now, real quick, I want you to do something for me. Drop a comment right now and tell me what country and city you're watching from. And be honest with me, do you think a few simple gestures can really change how a man feels about you? Or do you think it takes more than that? I really want to know what you think because it helps me understand where you're at and how I can help you better. Look, the biggest thing most women get completely wrong about men is thinking that showing more love and attention is what makes them open up. When you like a man and you want him to feel closer to you, what do? You probably try to show him how much you care. You text him more, you ask him how his day was, you try to be there for him, you compliment him, you make yourself available whenever he needs you. You think if you just show him enough love and attention, he'll open up and give you that same energy back, right? But here's what actually happens in his brain. When you do all of that, his nervous system doesn't register it as love, it registers it as pressure, as expectation, as someone who needs something from him. And what does every man do when he feels pressure? He pulls back. He creates distance. He goes quiet. And then you're sitting there confused thinking, but I was so nice to him. I gave him so much attention. Why is he acting cold now? This isn't your fault, by the way. Nobody teaches women how men actually process emotions. We're told men want a woman who's sweet and caring and always available. But that's not what makes a man feel something deep for you. That's not what makes him addicted to your presence. A man's brain is wired completely different from yours. Where you connect through talking and sharing and being close, he connects through something else entirely. Men are wired through thousands and thousands of years to respond to certain signals from women, not words, not actions that scream, I like you, but specific gestures that trigger something ancient in his brain, something that says, this woman is different, this woman gets it, I feel something around her that I don't feel around anyone else. And when those signals fire off in his head, he can't help himself. His walls come down. He starts chasing. He starts opening up. He becomes softer with you without even realizing why. That's what we're talking about today. The four gestures that flip that switch in his brain. And trust me, once you understand them, you'll see exactly why the men who ignore most women become obsessed with the few women who actually use these. So let's break down exactly what these four gestures are and why they work so powerfully on every single man, no matter what type of guy he is. The first gesture is something I call the unbothered pause, and it's probably the hardest one for most women because it feels wrong at first. Here's what it is. When he says something or does something that would normally make you react, make you respond right away, make you chase or explain or fix things, you pause, you don't react, you don't jump in to fill the silence, you just let it sit there for a second. I'm not talking about ignoring him or playing games. I'm talking about giving yourself 2 or 3 seconds before you respond. That's it. 2 or 3 seconds where you just breathe and let the moment exist without rushing to fill it. Why does this work? Because men are used to women reacting instantly. When you text him and he takes 4 hours to respond, what do? You probably text again. Or you're sitting there staring at your phone, wondering what happened. When he says something that hurts your feelings, you probably respond right away trying to defend yourself or make him understand. When he pulls back a little, you chase harder. But when you pause, when you don't react the way every other woman does, something happens in his brain. He notices. His nervous system actually wakes up. He starts thinking, wait, why didn't she respond yet? Is she okay? Did I say something wrong? Is she talking to someone else? And that little moment of uncertainty makes him focus on you in a way he wasn't before. This isn't about playing hard to get. This is about training yourself to not be so reactive. When you're unbothered, when you're not jumping at every little thing he does, it communicates something really powerful to him. It says, I don't need you to complete me. I don't need your validation. I'm good either way. And that right there is what makes a man lean in. Men don't chase women who are already caught. They chase women who seem like they might slip away. The unbothered pause creates that tiny bit of space that makes him wonder about you, that makes him start working for your attention instead of just assuming he has it. Now, this leads directly into the second gesture, which is the soft boundary. And this is where most women completely fall apart. You think setting boundaries with a man makes him pull away or get mad or lose interest. So you don't do it. You let him get away with things that bother you. You accept behavior that doesn't feel good because you're scared that if you say something, he'll leave. But here's the truth. When you don't have boundaries, when you let a man do whatever he wants without any pushback, he doesn't respect you more. He respects you less. And when a man doesn't respect you, he doesn't open up to you. He doesn't soften. He just takes and takes until there's nothing left. A soft boundary is different from being harsh or demanding. It's not saying you better do this or I'm gone. It's more like, hey, I don't really like when that happens. I need you to do it differently. And then you stop talking. You don't explain for 10 minutes. You don't justify why you feel that way. You just say it clearly, calmly, and then you let him sit with it. When you set a boundary like this, something interesting happens. Most men will test it. They'll push a little to see if you really mean it or if you're just talking. And this is where you have to follow through. If you set the boundary and then let him cross it 5 minutes later, you just taught him that your words don't mean anything. But if you hold it, if you calmly enforce it without getting emotional or angry, he starts to see you differently. He starts to see you as a woman who knows her worth, as someone who's not desperate, as someone who has options and standards. And that makes him want to rise up and meet those standards. It makes him work harder to keep you around. It makes him softer because he realizes he can't just do whatever he wants and you'll still be there. Men don't value what comes easy. They value what they have to earn. The soft boundary shows him you're not just another woman who will accept anything just to keep him around. You're someone who respects herself, and that makes him respect you too. And respect is where real emotional connection starts. But here's where it gets really interesting, because the third gesture is what takes everything to the next level. After you've been unbothered, after you've set a boundary, after you've shown him you're not like every other woman who chases and begs and accepts anything, you do something that completely surprises him. You show him softness. But not the kind of softness he expects, not the people-pleasing, trying to make him happy kind. I'm talking about real, genuine softness that comes from a place of strength, not weakness. I call this the unexpected softness, and it messes with a man's head in the best way possible. Here's what this looks like. Maybe he's had a rough day and he's being a little distant or quiet. Instead of taking it personally like you normally would, instead of asking him 100 questions or trying to fix it, you just reach over and touch his arm for a second. Or you look at him and say something simple like, I can tell today was rough. I'm here if you need me. And then you don't push. You don't ask follow-up questions. You don't try to drag the story out of him. You just offer that moment of softness and then you let it go. Or maybe you're having a conversation and he says something vulnerable, something real. Instead of immediately giving advice or trying to relate it back to yourself, you just look at him and say, thank you for telling me that. That's it. No big reaction, no drama, just acknowledgement. Why is this so powerful? Because most women are either too hard or too soft all the time. They're either chasing and being overly sweet and available, or they're playing games and being cold to protect themselves. But you're doing something different. You're showing him that you can be strong and have boundaries, but you're also capable of real warmth and genuine care. And that combination is absolutely magnetic to men. When he sees that you can stand up for yourself, but also be soft with him when it matters, his brain registers you as different, as special, as someone he needs to hold on to. The unexpected softness shows him that your boundaries aren't about being mean or playing games. They're about creating a space where real connection can happen. And when he feels that, when he experiences that combination of strength and softness, he starts to open up in ways he doesn't with other women. This brings us to the fourth gesture, and honestly, this is the one that seals the deal with almost every man. I call it the pleased silence, and it's the most misunderstood gesture of all. Most women think they need to fill every silence with talking, with questions, with conversation. You're scared that if things get quiet, he'll get bored or lose interest or think you're awkward. So you talk, you ask questions, you fill the space with noise. But here's what you don't realize. All that talking is actually pushing him away. It's creating pressure. It's making him feel like he has to perform, like he has to keep you entertained, like he can't just relax and be himself around you. The pleased silence is different. It's when you're with him and things get quiet, and instead of panicking and filling the space, you just smile a little. You look content. You look like you're perfectly happy just being there with him, not needing anything, not expecting anything. Maybe you're sitting next to each other watching something, or you're in the car together, or you're just hanging out, and it gets quiet. And instead of getting uncomfortable, you just breathe. You relax your shoulders. You might glance at him with a soft look on your face, and then you look away again. You're not staring at him, waiting for him to talk. You're not fidgeting or checking your phone because you're nervous. You're just there, present, content, pleased to be in his company without needing constant stimulation. This does something incredible to a man's nervous system. When you're comfortable in silence with him, when you don't need him to fill every moment with entertainment or attention, it tells his subconscious brain that you're safe, that you're secure, that you're not needy or anxious or constantly seeking validation. And that makes him relax in a way he doesn't relax with most women. Most women make men feel like they're on stage, like they have to perform, like they're being evaluated every second. But you make him feel like he can just be. He can sit there and think his thoughts. He can be quiet when he needs to be quiet. He can exist without pressure. And that feeling is so rare, so valuable to men, that when they find a woman who gives them that, they don't want to let her go. The pleased silence shows him that you're confident enough in yourself and in the connection that you don't need constant reassurance. You don't need him to prove himself every 5 minutes. You're just genuinely happy to be there with him, and that happiness doesn't depend on him doing anything or saying anything. It just is. And when a man feels that from a woman, when he feels like he can finally relax and just exist without judgment or pressure, that's when his walls come all the way down. That's when he starts to soften in ways you've never seen before. Now, here's why these 4 gestures work together so powerfully, and this is where the science comes in. When you use the unbothered pause, you're activating something in his brain called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same thing that makes gambling addictive. When he doesn't get your attention and reaction immediately every single time, his brain starts paying more attention to when he does get it. He starts working for it. He starts valuing it more. When you set soft boundaries, you're triggering his natural competitive instinct. NCT, men are wired to pursue challenges. When you show him you have standards and you're not just going to accept anything, you become a challenge worth pursuing. His brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that fires when he's chasing a goal or winning a game. When you show unexpected softness after being strong, you're creating what psychologists call emotional range. You're showing him you're complex, you're real, you're not just playing a role. And complexity is attractive. It keeps him interested. It makes him want to figure you out, to see more of you, to understand the different sides of you. And when you give him pleased silence, you're activating his parasympathetic nervous system. That's the part of his body that controls rest and relaxation. When he's around you and he doesn't feel pressure, when he doesn't feel like he's being tested or evaluated, his body physically relaxes. His cortisol levels drop. His breathing slows down. He associates being around you with feeling calm and safe and good. And here's the thing. These aren't tricks. These aren't manipulation tactics. These are just natural feminine gestures that women used to know how to do before we were all taught to be available and accommodating and constantly chasing male attention. These gestures work because they're real. They come from a place of genuine self-respect and understanding of how human connection actually works. When you do these things, you're not pretending to be something you're not. You're just learning to show up in a way that allows him to actually feel safe enough to open up to you. So how do you know when these gestures are actually working on him? His body will tell you before his words do. There are specific signs that show you he's softening, that his walls are coming down, that he's starting to feel that deep emotional pull toward, and you can't fake these signs. They're involuntary responses that his body does without him even realizing it. First thing you'll notice is he starts initiating contact more. He's the one texting you first. He's the one making plans. He's the one reaching out. Before, you might have felt like you were doing most of the work. But when these gestures start working, he starts chasing. He starts putting in effort because suddenly he's scared of losing access to you. Second, his voice changes when he talks to you. It gets softer, more gentle, less guarded. Men typically have this way of talking where they're always kind of performing, always kind of projecting confidence or humor or coolness. But when he softens, when he lets his guard down, his voice loses that edge. He talks to you the way he talks to himself in his head. Open, real, vulnerable. Third, he starts sharing things he doesn't share with other people. He tells you about his day without you having to drag it out of him. He mentions his worries, his dreams, his random thoughts. He brings you into his internal world because he feels safe enough to do that. Fourth, his body language completely shifts when you're around. Before, he might have kept physical distance or been kind of closed off with his posture. But when he's softening, he leans towards you. He finds excuses to touch you, just small touches, nothing dramatic. His shoulders relax, his face softens. He looks at you differently, longer, like he's actually seeing you instead of just looking at you. Fifth, he starts making future plans with you. He talks about things you'll do together next week, X month. He includes you in his thinking about the future before he might have been all about right now, about keeping things casual and undefined. But when these gestures work, when he softens, he starts naturally thinking about you in his future because he doesn't want to imagine that future without you in it. Sixth, he gets a little bit jealous when other men are around you, but he tries to hide it. You'll see it in the way he watches you, in the questions he asks afterward, in the way he subtly tries to mark his territory without being obvious about it. This isn't toxic jealousy. This is the kind that shows he cares, that he's invested, that he doesn't want to lose you. And finally, he tells you things matter-of-factly that he would normally keep hidden. Things like, I missed you today, or I was thinking about you, or I really like spending time with you. These aren't big romantic declarations. They're just simple, honest statements that slip out because he's not guarding himself anymore. He's not worried about looking weak or too interested. He just says what he feels because around you, that feels safe. Now, here's the most important part. How do you actually do these gestures without it feeling fake or forced or like you're playing games? Because if you do this stuff with the wrong intention, if you do it thinking, I'm going to use these techniques to manipulate him into loving me, it's not going to work. He'll feel it. Men can sense manipulation even if they can't explain why something feels off. So how do you make this real? How do you make this authentic? First, you have to start from a place of genuine self-respect. The unbothered pause only works if you're actually okay with or without him. If you're pausing but inside you're panicking and obsessing and waiting for his response, he'll feel that energy. But if you pause because you genuinely have other things going on in your life, other things that matter to you, other sources of happiness, that's when it becomes magnetic. You're not playing hard to get. You're just living your life and he happens to be a part of it, not the center of it. Second, your boundaries have to come from what you actually want and need, not from some strategy. Don't set random boundaries just to test him or make him chase. Set boundaries around things that actually matter to you, things that affect your peace, your respect, your happiness. When your boundaries are real, when they come from genuine self-care, they have weight. They have power. He feels the difference between a woman who's playing games and a woman who genuinely knows what she deserves. Third, Your softness has to be something you genuinely feel, not something you're performing. Don't force yourself to be soft with him if you're actually angry or hurt or disconnected. That's fake, and he'll sense it. But when you naturally feel warmth toward him, when you see him struggling and you genuinely want to offer comfort, that's when you let it show. Real softness comes from real care. You can't fake that. And finally, your pleased silence has to come from actually being comfortable in your own skin. If you're sitting in silence with him, but inside you're screaming with anxiety, he'll feel your tension. But if you've done the work on yourself, if you've learnt to be okay with quiet moments, if you genuinely enjoy just existing without constant stimulation, that's when the pleased silence becomes powerful. The truth is, these gestures aren't really about him at all. They're about you becoming the kind of woman who doesn't need external validation to feel good about herself. A woman who has standards not because she's trying to play games, but because she genuinely values herself. A woman who can be soft not because she's weak, but because she's strong enough to be vulnerable. A woman who's comfortable in silence not because she's playing it cool, but because she's genuinely at peace with herself. And here's what happens when you become that woman. It doesn't just change your relationship, it changes your entire life. Men start treating you differently across the board. Not just the one guy you're interested in, all of them. Because you're carrying yourself differently. You're not chasing. You're not desperate for approval. You're not bending yourself into a pretzel trying to be what you think they want. You're just being you, solid and confident and real. And that energy is so rare, so magnetic, that men can't help but respond to it. The men who aren't right for you start falling away naturally because they sense they can't just use you or play games with you. And the men who are right for you start stepping up, start showing you the kind of effort and care and respect you deserve. You stop having to wonder if he likes you because his actions make it obvious. You stop having to chase because he's doing the chasing. You stop having to convince him of your worth because he sees it clearly all on his own. So the next time you're with a man you're interested in, remember what really makes him soften. It's not your constant availability. It's not your endless accommodating. It's not you shrinking yourself or playing small or being what you think he wants. It's you showing up as a woman who respects herself enough to pause before reacting, to set boundaries that matter, to show genuine softness from a place of strength, and to be comfortable enough in your own skin that you don't need to fill every silence with noise. That's what makes a man melt. That's what makes him open up. That's what makes him yours. Now, I want to know from you, which of these 4 gestures do you think is going to be the hardest for you to actually do? Is it the unbothered pause because you're used to reacting immediately? Is it the soft boundary because you're scared he'll leave if you speak up? Is it the unexpected softness because you've built walls and you don't know how to let them down? Or is it the pleased silence because quiet moments make you anxious? Drop a comment right now and tell me which one you're going to work on first. And if you're serious about mastering these gestures, type "I'm becoming her" in the comments so I know you're committed to this work. If this video helped you see something new, if it gave you a different way of thinking about how to connect with men, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on the bell so you don't miss the next video. We're building something special.